Hey guys, I'm gonna try to make this fast. I just watched another video that covered the Larue MBT trigger versus a Geissele and stuff like that, and it took like 30 minutes. So I'm gonna try to. It was great, but it was too much for me. So I'm gonna try to make this fast so you can kind of get an idea of what the differences are between these two in feel, and yeah. So before we get started, usual stuff. If you like what you see here on the channel, please subscribe. It really helps, and it helps the Second Amendment, which we gotta push right now, fellas. So and gals. So please help support gun channels, and let's get the word out about safe gun handling. All right, so moving on. What we got here? I've got a Larue MBT trigger and this MBT-2S, a two-stage trigger. I've got a Geissele SSA in this gun right here. And I've got a Geissele SSA-E in this gun right here. Okay, so my initial 10,000 foot view of all three of these triggers. So they stack up definitely in a certain order, and they pretty much feel like low, middle, and high, honestly, as far as pull weight and feel. It feels like the SSA-E is by far the lightest of the three. And if you go by pull weights, that I believe that to be true as well. I think that the MBT and the SSA-E are relatively close in pull weight, but by feel alone, the Larue feels like at least a pound heavier trigger. Which, good or bad, that's what it is. It feels like they're right in between. If you go from lightest to heaviest, SSA-E, Larue MBT-2S, and the SSA. That's how they feel as far as pull weight to get the trigger to break. So I guess let's start with the lightest. Let me do a quick little trigger pull just to kind of show you the travel and all that stuff. So, alright, this is the SSA-E. First stage, nice and light, crisp. People say like glass. I don't know if that feels like glass. It kind of, I guess it feels more like glass than the SSA trigger does. Definitely feels light. Okay, so now let's go to the Larue. Which, let me say, so I got this one off a lucky break. I won this gun except for the lower. I had to buy the lower receiver, but I won this, the full upper, the grip, the stock, the lower parts kit, everything but the strip lower, and Larue's 50 Days of Christmas giveaway. So clear. But after winning it and feeling this trigger, I went and bought another one. See, that feels way more crisp. If anything, feels like a stick of glass breaking. It's this. The first stage feels a little heavier than the SSA-E. Very predictable wall. A crisp break. Honestly, it's a great feeling trigger. Very impressed. Better than the Geissele's? I think better is, I don't think you can do that here. Some people like a certain feel better than others. I don't think there's better or worse. I think there's different. And I already did that one. Now we're going to the SSA. Yep. Oops, sorry, shaking the camera. That first stage feels a little heavier than the MBT. God, it's a nice trigger. I like all three. I'll go back to the Larue. Again, this Larue trigger, I'm sure you probably noticed, the bow is wider and flatter with a little less curve on it than your standard mil-spec trigger. If you know, maybe it's not wider, but it has a flatter feel across it than these for some reason. Maybe it's because it's straighter up and down, it's got less curve that way. Perhaps. It's definitely, it feels like it's right in between the other two Geisele's, honestly, as far as pull weight. And it feels to me like the travel is very similar on all three. The reset honestly feels a little more positive on the MBT. Okay, so no, the reset on these two triggers feels a little more positive. That's the SSA and the MBT. The SSA-E, obviously not as positive because it's got lighter springs in it. But these two definitely feel. This one feels like a bench gun. The SSA-E feels like a trigger for a bench gun, and these other two feel more. They feel like they lend themselves a little more toward a combat style trigger, where the SSA, that's what it's marketed for. The MBT feels like it breaks at just a little bit less pressure than the SSA, but I don't feel like it's light enough where you just flick it and it's going off. I feel like it could probably be in a dual roll scenario. So all around, if you were going for probably one trigger to rule them all, where if you wanted to shoot off the bench and have it maybe act as a combat trigger, maybe you want to go with the MBT. I don't know. Like I said, I just ordered another one because I think it's fantastic. And I can wait for it because I got another lower it's going into, but I don't have it all put together or whatever, the rest of the upper and stuff yet, so I can wait. And they're selling for $100 right now, so you just for how good that trigger feels, and the quality of steel that's put into it, and I mean the price it comes, it's a Larue, so it's quality. You can't beat it for $100. So are these guys going up for sale? No, I like them. I'm gonna stick with them right until, I don't know, maybe I shoot these two Larue triggers that I'm going to have here soon and a bunch, and I decide to switch them all to that. I don't know. I like options, so I like these guys at triggers too. So that's my take on them. Like I said, 10,000 foot view, like the general overview. I think this trigger basically falls in between. The MBT falls in between the SSA-E and the SSA. I think it's similar in terms of length of pull and reset. I think those distances are relatively similar. They're very close. unless you're a really picky trigger snob, you're really not going to notice a whole lot. Or if all you do is bench rest shooting and you're really focused and concentrated on what your trigger pull feels like, then maybe you'll notice a difference. But I think that most people probably are not in that camp. So I see very little difference between the three of them. Probably one of the biggest things is the feel of the trigger bow, because like I said, it feels wider and flatter. Whether it is, I think if you put a caliper on it, it's relatively the same width, but it feels flatter. And I think maybe because it's straighter up and down, and the edges are less like rounded over or something, but it doesn't feel sharp on the edges. It feels really good. It's a fantastic. It feels good. Yeah. And these feel more narrow for some reason. They feel more narrow under your finger. Don't know why, but they do. Good or bad, not saying either way, just observations. So, yep, I think falls in between, but it's in the same category as these other two triggers, definitely, as far as I'm concerned. So, I think they're a steal for $100. Like I said, full disclosure, I won this one, so I got this full gun except for the low receiver free. But I promise you all that I do objective reviews. I don't play favorites. If somebody sent me free stuff, I wouldn't care. I'd give it an honest shake, because that's how I roll. I don't believe in fake reviews that people got free stuff for. So, yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope I helped somebody out, and have a nice day.